Ladies, gentlemen, and those who have ascended past the binary, welcome to Step Back Tonight. Ooh, a little shaky there. Hi, my name's Tristan. I'm the host of YouTube channels Tristan Won't Shut Up and Step Back History. Or, I guess today it's Step Back History and Tristan Won't Shut Up because I released a new Step Back video and it's actually doing well for once, which is new. Hasn't been like that in a few months. Hey. I have a streaming schedule, so I'm a streamer on the internet. Let's see. I stream, and this is all going to be Eastern Standard Time. I stream on Mondays doing the Monday Discourse where I talk about bullshit on the internet with my perennial co-host Mia Mulder. That goes from 12 to 2 on Mondays. What you're watching tonight is Step Back Tonight. It's an evening show where I kind of just chill with the audience, and I'm in a pretty good mood, so this will go well. Goes from 7 to 9, and then on Tuesday nights, by the way, and then on Fridays I do the Reactor from 12 to 2, which is a show where I react to things people have sent me. Yeah, real clever. I go by he, him pronouns, and then my work can be found at stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com. Or TristanPJ on Twitter. Or Copium Overdose on what's that website? On Parler, in which I made an account just to like type lol and then never open it again and uninstall the app. Yeah. If you are a Amazon Prime member, because you want to get that sweet 2-day delivery, might I mention that if you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch subscription per month. And on Twitch, you can use that to help an independent creator build their careers and survive. Help pay rent, feed animals, feed themselves, etc., etc. And I would recommend that if you have Amazon Prime, that you definitely use that Twitch Prime subscription. Doesn't have to be on me, but please, any independent creator, it would be greatly appreciated if you choose me. I'll be very grateful. You know, this I don't do. You know, this is my job. This is my full-time job for some reason. And so every little bit really helps me like kind of keep... I thought Mondays and Tuesdays were podcast response streams. Well, that's the thing is all streams could possibly be a legal podcast response zone. We never know when those are going to come up. So, could come out of nowhere. Yeah. If you want to check out my latest content, my latest video on Step Back came out earlier today. It's on the Vietnam War and on the... Actually, it's not about the Vietnam War. It's more about the founding of the white power movement and sort of the strategic alliance between neo-Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan and various other like white supremacist weirdos with paramilitary training, and how Vietnam is sort of responsible for creating it. You can, there's a whole bunch of those videos, or that video just came out and it's doing really, really well. So my guess is that there's people who are very excited about this content. And my next Step Back video is going to be a follow-up. I'm doing I should say it's in the same vein, but I'm doing a video on how the white power movement, once it actually decided that it was a white power movement and that it was trying to declare war against the United States, how they operated, how they functioned, how they got money, how they used early 1980s internet to coordinate, and and how they recruited new people. So it's about the creation of the Aryan Brotherhood and the various crimes they got involved with, and it's a whole bunch of stuff. It's a real page. And also we're going to talk about the Turner Diaries too, which was a very important work that I think, even though Thought Slime already made a video about it, I think I have some stuff to add that Thought Slime didn't get into. So that'll be a fun video. I'm looking forward to making it. It's slated, because of sponsorships and stuff, it's slated to come out on November 27th, which also my birthday, so yeah. I'm not sure. I'm going to be streaming on that day, and I'll be releasing a video. It's going to be a good day. The Tristan Won't Shut Up video that came out on Monday was about the election. It was sort of my election recap. And that video is, of course, out now. Came out on Monday. It's doing okay. For Tristan Won't Shut Up, it's doing kind of in the middle of the pack. It's a 5 out of 10, because they always say how your video is doing at this point after release compared to your past 9 video releases, and it's at a 5. So it's doing exactly average. Because I guess people really want me to just talk about why capitalism's bad, so I'll do that next. And my next video is going to be about Amazon, and how Amazon gives us a glimpse into what the digitized planned economy could look like. So that'll be the next Tristan Won't Shut Up video. Coming out eventually. I gotta do my research and stuff for it first. But yeah. Good times. Content for all. Everyone loves content. Trying to pivot, step back into making more often shorter videos. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's see what's going on chat. I'm really worried because the last 2 of these have ended up being pretty stressful for me. First was election night, pre-Blue Shift, then last week it was your coup speculation. Well, it seems like coup talk is getting a little hazy now, so we'll see what comes out of it, but we're further away from a coup than we were last week, that's for sure. Oh yeah, I need to drink some water. Sure. Hey, Misty Metabot, thank you for following. Welcome to the Organic. I guess I should pour myself some water. Give you guys some ASMRs, some glug 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 ASMR. I'm sure somebody, that's their thing. All right. What can you do to prevent who you know who from creating multiple Discord accounts and spamming his videos in the Reactor tab? Almost all the videos you show every week are his. It makes me and a couple of their followers upset that you never call him on his PS. Oh, jeez. Is that a thing that's happening? Is there multiple accounts happening? That's a bit much. Listen, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum about getting super excited about putting videos in the Reactor channel. But also, this is not the place to take this up. You should probably send me a message on Discord or send a message to one of the moderators and bring this up instead of, like, trying to air out Discord drama in the middle of a stream. But I have already made measures to try and make sure that everybody who submits their content gets it posted, or gets their fair share. I looked into that guy you mentioned who created all that artwork. That wasn't discovered until after he died. Do you think outsider art can sometimes get more reverence than it warrants because of who created it? Like, apparently the illustrated novel he wrote in the novels of the Unreal is intensely repetitive. I know you think World War is boring. Would you feel differently about it if it was written by someone in an asylum rather than a respected alt history writer? I mean, no. I'm not going to, read Realms of the Unreal. But what I will say is that in many ways, high art is as much about the story behind the creation of the piece than the piece itself. And when it comes to that case specifically, the book is interesting. The book is just I'm never going to read this 10,000 page novel. So, but I do think that it's an interesting story that it exists, and I'm glad that there are people like that. I mean, I am glad that I think outsider. I think that okay. As my brain was short circuiting there, I think that the fine art world and classically trained artists fall into, or can at least, fall into certain predictable patterns because, they're taught by somebody who was taught by somebody who's taught by somebody. And when you take somebody who has no experience in the art world, doesn't understand all the rules of art, sometimes, you get a lot of crap, but you also get sometimes things that are pretty interesting, at least worth talking about. And the Realms of the Unreal books are most definitely I don't think anybody would say that they're good per se, but they're very interesting, and they show somebody approaching writing and painting and all this kind of stuff with a very unique viewpoint that you don't see very often. Someone trying to make me dab a whole bunch of times. Oh boy. Cha 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 cha. Dab. Alright, hopefully that was enough. I'm gonna complete it. Hopefully that works. Hopefully I dabbed enough for everyone to be happy. Okay, where did my chat window go? When my dad was a riot cop, he was once assigned to stand outside a biscuit factory and make sure striking workers didn't do anything bad like break a window or seize the means of production. The day the strike broke, the manager of the factory came out and gave loads of packs of free biscuits to the cops. Should cops be forbidden for taking gifts like that? Or is it relatively benign because it's just like cookies rather than a new car? I mean, I think that there's there's actual laws about this that already exist. Cookies, who gives a fuck? Although, it's still a shitty thing to do to protect the businesses, but whatever. Obviously, that's a different conversation to have. But what's it called? I think you're thinking of emoluments type stuff where if you receive a gift over a certain amount of money, it's sus, and so you're not going to do it. And there is already a law involved with this. I know it's bullshit that Americans could have won the Vietnam War, but I thought the soldiers really were mistreated when they were over there or when they got back. Your video implied that wasn't the case. There's a narrative that you hear in American history classes that, soldiers, when they came back, were treated like shit by the average person. The whole thing of, people threw cups of urine at them and called them baby killers as they came off the airplane. And, veterans were, treated like shit after they came back. This is a popular notion, but it is not one that bears out through historical studying of the evidence. That's the main thing. That's the part I was trying to talk about. were Vietnam veterans mistreated by the VA? Sure, the VA mistreats everybody. Were troops in Vietnam not treated, not given good living conditions when they were living in Vietnam? Sure, but that's not the narrative I was trying to speak to about. You have not done that. Okay. What are your thoughts on all the good things Donald Trump has done? Like what? I'm trying to think of a good thing he did. He was kind of inept at running a global empire, which meant that a lot of global imperial projects were sort of messed up because he refused, what's it called? He was just didn't give a shit about Plan Colombia or something like that. So I guess that he was too inept to be the horrible dictator that he wanted to be. That sounds about as good as I'm gonna be able to get, I think. Because, yeah, Trump was kind of a piece of shit president. Oh, I liked when he lost the election. That was good. That was a good feeling. What are your thoughts on Ho Chi Minh, North Vietnam, and the National Liberation Front? The Viet Cong? Ho Chi Minh, pretty good guy, seems. Was trying to free his people from French colonial and then Chinese, what's it called? Vietnam has been a country that has had people trying to dominate it for thousands of years. And the fight against the French and the Americans was a decolonization fight that was the end of a very, very, very long struggle against Chinese domination, against American domination, against French domination. And Ho Chi Minh did everything he did with the language of, freedom, equality. Literally, the Declaration of Independence from France was modeled off of the American Declaration of Independence. I don't know. Definitely better than South Vietnam with the Christian supremacist dictators and shit like that. And North Vietnam won the war, so there's that. Cookies are more a symbol than a commodity in this sitch, I believe, yeah. It's a biscuit because in America or in Britain they call their cookies biscuits. Which means it wasn't a Jaffa cake because I learned that a Jaffa cake is a cake and not a biscuit. Or it is a biscuit and not a cake. It's one of those two. But I know that they talk endlessly about whether or not Jaffa cakes are cakes. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. It's a cake. But some people say it's a biscuit, but it's not a true biscuit. And there's rules. There's biscuit rules. I don't know. It's a cookie that has chocolate on it and tastes a little bit like orange. They're actually pretty good if I remember correctly. Unrelated note, did you know the company that wants to build on a certain territory is part of the RCMP pension plan? Oh, what? I'm so surprised. Cops get cookies? I thought anarchists called dibs on the entire bakery. Why do cops get the cookies now? I guess if you're a strike breaker police officer, you get cookies from the cookie factory strike breakers. Vietnam soldiers are treated way worse than their COs and their government than the hippies. Oh boy, it's a beautiful boater. Yeah, you're right. That the soldiers were treated pretty bad by their commanding officers and their government. But the thing is that the narrative is that people didn't respect them because they were too busy doing second wave feminism or something. There's backing out of the TPP. Yeah, that's true. What about the economic success or his historic peace deals in the Middle East? His historic peace deals in the Middle East were fucking garbage. His historic peace deals in the Middle East were basically to just, like, try and get, like, Arabian oil sheiks to finally say that they don't care about Palestinian human rights anymore, which was a thing that they were already ready to do for ages. And, like, you know, basically tell Israel that they can just commit all of the genocide they want with no repercussions. That's not a fucking Middle Eastern peace deal. That is Palestinian genocide, which is the furthest thing from a peace deal. That's like basically like what's it called? If like I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example. But God damn it, like that's a terrible argument to make. And the economic success, like you guys have like 30% unemployment right now and people are getting out of their jobs every day because there's a fucking pandemic. Like, you do know that like what the president didn't do anything for the market. The president doesn't have a fucking switch on his desk that says economy. Like, market, like what's it called? Markets have there's a lot more complicated than just Trump was just so good at economy that it made number go up, and that means good. Like, trust me, Trump didn't decrease unemployment. Trump didn't didn't make the disparity between rich and poor go down. He made number go up. Fucking, he's another neoliberal, like fucking neocon like the rest of them. I know you wanted him to be like your big fascist boner boy. You wanted your big wet president to do your day of the rope and to make all of the people that you dislike angry. I know that like you were so excited that you're hoping that all the Browns were just going to be rounded up and executed. I know that was your dream with Donald Trump, but it's over now. Your Fourth Reich is not going to happen. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry you didn't get what you wanted there. Ho Chi Minh was a communist. Yeah, that's why he rules. Even benevolent dictators are counter-revolutionary. The power of the POTUS has and should never be concentrated. Yeah, I mean, the best answer to who should have won the presidential election was nobody, because, man, if there was no president, having no president would be one of the greatest things for world peace in human history. Unfortunately, we still have to have one, apparently. Should someone on the left write a sequel to the Turner Diaries set in the white nationalist future? There could be a plot about how the diary was propaganda and not an accurate representation was going on before the takeover. I don't know. I engaging with that material in that way feels, I don't know, not for me. Will you make some video on the Viet-Cambodia War? Maybe. I don't know if anyone would watch it, but if you read Ho Chi Minh biographies, you'll see that he only sided with the communists because the capitalists were oppressing his people. This is true. He actually tried to get the Americans to intervene to free Vietnam from the French, and the fucking Woodrow Wilson era government just said ha no. When I said that all countries have national determination, I meant for Slovakia, not people in Asia, because Woodrow Wilson was a giant ass racist. So yeah. We didn't care that he was from Vietnam, the fucking Soviet Union. Because you see, if there's one thing that you can learn, and in my recent video, you learn pretty quickly, is that that capitalism and racism are almost the exact same word. And that anti-communism and white supremacy go hand in hand fairly often. You can't really have one without the other. Capitalism was literally written about and designed to justify the colonial system of slavery based on racial castes and such. I don't know. So Boris might have to resign as him being replaced with a more standard Tory PM and net positive or negative. Probably a net positive. I don't even know where the Tories are at this point. My guess is that at this point they're not going to go, hey, psych on the whole Brexit thing. But Boris Johnson does seem to be a bit of a mess. And doesn't he have COVID again? That's fucking hilarious. Favorite country? What's a good favorite country? My favorite country is the West Sahara. Because what's it called? They're trying to be free or something. I don't know. I don't have a favorite country because countries are bad. It's like my favorite brand of fucking black licorice. Like, come on. We all know they're inedible turds. Because if it's a biscuit, you pay taxes on it. Like, he was only a communist because the communists were willing to actually grant independence from the imperial core. Yup. Weren't there some leftist soldiers coming from Vietnam as well? They called their orgs coffee houses, I think. Yeah. I mentioned in the video that there were people who went to Vietnam and came back and were leftists. And they took their paramilitary training and brought it to leftist organizations. Like, there was the Chicano-led Brown Berets movement. There was also a lot of Black Vietnam veterans who came home and brought their training to the Black Panthers. So, like, you know, and there was like groups like the Weather Underground and stuff like that too. If Steven Crowder stayed in Canada instead of going to the States, do you think he'd work for Rebel Media or be more of a free agent? Probably work for Rebel Media. Makes sense to me. Rebel's like the only... Like, the thing is, Rebel's the only place you can go in Canada if you are a right-wing grifter. It's either that or the National Post, and I don't know if he's National Post material. Think about earning my PhD in U.S. history, maybe write about the misconceptions about the Irish diaspora. Go for it. I mean, if you want to spend 4 years studying a laser-focused tiny topic, and I will say... Like, getting into history, like doing a history PhD, doing a history PhD because you want to study something is a good reason. Doing it because you want to be a history professor afterwards, less good of a reason. Because that's probably not going to happen. It's very rare that anybody becomes like full-time professors anymore. But if you want to write a dissertation on a topic and you want to dedicate like several years of your life to it, it's a very noble goal. I think it's great and you should do it. Hashtag no true biscuit. Did I open Jaffa Cake Discourse or no? All men are created equal. They're endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. Men there are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. First line of the Ho Chi Minh Declaration, yep. Do you plan on doing more videos on the Vietnam War or topics surrounding it? I mean, it's not a thing that's impossible for me to do. Right now, I'm trying to do more of my videos in, like, clusters. And right now, like, I'm kind of on this kick of making several videos on the topic of, like, the rise and the building of the white nationalist or white power movement in America. And sort of, like, how we got to the militias of today. So what you saw today was just the first. And I'm going to keep making them until, like, you know, till the energy starts to peter out on them. But I've got, but that'll be... I don't know, like, I'm not a good war person. It'll never be aired, but I did write not Vietnam. I wrote some scripts for Kings and Generals at one point, because I don't think this is, like, secret or anything like that, but at one point, Kings and Generals was looking to make a Civil War series, and they had... penned me to do the Civil War series. Like, I was going to write the Civil War series, which is great. I wrote, I think, the first episode. I wrote a good chunk of the second episode too. And then they decided to go in another direction because there was, like, some other group that was interested in collaborating on it or something like that. So I got dropped from the project, but I still got paid for the script. But I learned very quickly in that like, military history is not my strong suit, and it's hard for me to be very like, oh, like then the red blocks move this way, and then the blue blocks moved this way, and that meant that slavery was gone. Like, it's like, okay. Like that kind of like, or like, this is a gun, it can shoot 5 shots per second, and it's real good. This tank, those what's it called? Those tanks were really epic or whatever. Like, I can't do it. This is probably why Step Back doesn't have 1,000 million subscribers, because I just can't be like, the wars. But Vietnam was a war that basically tore America apart, so it definitely feels like something I can make dramatic. Please get moderation on the Twitch. Yeesh. Why, what's going on in Twitch? Who's being a prick in this, Oh, is this guy? Okay. Bye. Nice to make a golden pick. Thank you. What's it called? I will tell you a little bit about this. This picture was actually sent to me by a fan. Somebody bought 4 of these framed prints of Emma Goldman's mugshot from when she was arrested in 1901 for the suspicion of being connected with the assassination of William McKinley. And I don't know who bought them. I'm trying to find out who bought them because they sent them to my old P.O. box. They're great, and I got 3 extras that I think I'm going to do a giveaway for, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out yet. Why the Tiger tank was fucking epic. Okay. Why the T-34 would blast a hole in a wall, and that's why it's cool. They can destroy people's homes and kill civilians like no one's business. Today we're going to have a talk about the epic Gatling gun and how it was used to massacre innocent people trying to free their homeland from colonial aggression. See, I can't even do it. Oh boy. I just enjoy snacks. This is tea time, not a philosophy class. Listen, if a Jaffa cake is not a real cake, or it is a cake, or it's a biscuit, I don't think we've gotten to the answer of this because British people have been fighting this battle for... I think this is actually what the Battle of Hastings was about. I'm pretty sure was about whether or not a Jaffa cake was a cake or a biscuit. And I think to this day, they're still... Like, I think that the English Civil War was also about this at some point. Like, the Lancasters, I believe, supported Jaffa cakes being cakes, while the other ones were the ones that Jaffa cakes are biscuits. I don't know. I just think that all internal conflict. That's what actually the Scottish referendum was about. That they're cakists, and all I'm saying is if you dig deep enough in any conflict in British history, you find out that at its core, it's about whether or not a Jaffa cake is a cake or a biscuit. Okay. What are my thoughts on Bofa? Bofa? I feel like I've seen this word before, but I don't know what it is. Bofa. The Bank of America? First stage of a verbally transmitted disease. All right, is it okay? I don't know if it's because like BOFA, people are saying it's Bank of America. Usually non-fatal and asymptomatic. However, once it processes to stage 2, ligma. Okay, this is like, is this like that joke disorder? Oh yeah. This is the thing that killed Ninja. Now I remember. BOFA D's nuts. There you go. Well done. Thank you. I applaud you for a D's nuts joke. I will never, ever, ever disapprove of a D's nuts joke. They are too good. So thank you. I appreciate it. I am fine with my role that I had in the story, and I'm happy. Am I a history teacher? No, I mean, I'm a YouTuber. I have been in the past. I was a TA for U.S. history for 3 years in a row. I was a TA. I did tutorials for U.S. survey course in history. I did that for 3 years. And I also was, at one point, before that, I was a TA for a children's literature course. That was real fun because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. They looked through I was doing American Studies, and they looked through my background and found that I took one feminist literary theory course, and that I had taken graphic novel class and online journalism in undergrad, which were all technically English courses. So when they looked through like my classes that I had taken in undergrad, they saw that outside of history, the second highest department that I had classes in was the English department. And so I was given fucking children's lit to read. It was actually turned out to be a really fun class because I basically said on day one, I have no idea what I'm doing. And they were all like, we don't know what we're doing either. And so we just had fun reading kids' books together. It was pretty great, actually. But yeah, I have been a history teacher in the past. I also did a guest lecture. I've done a couple guest lectures. I did a guest lecture on the Ronald Reagan and the sort of neoliberal turn of the 1980s that I did for the U.S. history class. And I also did a guest lecture where I covered 9/11 and the War on Terror for the same U.S. history class. So, and I technically have my comprehensive exams done from my PhD that I dropped out of. So I theoretically know enough to teach a university level course on American history. Theoretically. You ever heard of Dragon? Does it have to do with these nuts? Okay. Yes, all right, we're ready. Okay, it's not the podcast response zone. Yesterday I was listening to a podcast about the pre-contact history of Native Americans. Apparently some of the groups we think of as Native Americans may have moved over from Siberia as recently as 1,000 years ago. Do we need to stop thinking of the Americas like they were another planet before 1492? We do. I talked about that in one of my videos about different... there's pretty good evidence that Norwegians had contact with Inuit people, kind of in the Arctic ice. And and in like sort of Arctic regions, contact between like Russia, Europe, and the Americas was actually pretty... because, it's not that they're all connected up there, is actually not unheard of. Did you hear that Nancy Pelosi got ligma today? No. What was she near Ninja without a mask on? I'm glad we're all having fun. And I got a clip of both of these nuts. Nice. Sometimes soldiers in Vietnam would do fraggings where they blew up their COs if they were really mad. Holy shit. Alright. It was always a narrative that we're stopping communism, that the North Vietnamese were terrible and doing terrible things. There's no explanation for the other side. Yeah. What do you think about Hitler's historic peace deals in Vichy France? Oh boy. Wrong. Unemployment is at 6.4%, but 30 is close. Okay, buddy. You're certainly spending a lot of time, like, in my stream just being mad at me. Get ready for Tristan Zilla. Oh boy. I did hear in high school history how Lucille Ball did something to help the North Vietnamese. I mean, isn't there like a rumor? Isn't the whole thing with her is that she... I mean, there's like a whole rumor that she had something like with her fillings were picking up radio transmissions or something weird like that. I don't know. It's it feels like almost like an urban myth or something. I think they... Let's see. Do you think democratic centralism will be possible between state and stateless socialists in order to build a legit leftist united front and have those common ideals be held in common faith? I hope so. I imagine that democratic centralism is like the idea that, like, hey, if you want to have a state, you can. If you don't, you don't. Which to me is like the essence of an anarchist society. But because, you know, I just want whatever organization you live under to be consensual and not something that you're just part of by virtue of existing or being born. Are all fat, odious pieces of shit communists? No. I recommend you check out this YouTube channel called The Quartering to show that actually I'm very, very what's it called? It's actually fairly rare for people who look like me to be pieces of shit communists. So it's just me. There are 6 different measures of unemployment. U1 being the most restricted definition, U6 being the least restrictive. Do not the quartering. Oh boy. Okay, let's see. Where is... What would Gore have actually done about climate change if he'd won in 2000? I mean, he obviously takes it seriously, but he's still a neoliberal. Yeah, I feel like he talks a good game because he was never actually president. I don't think he would have done as much as people... I think he's probably done more for climate change by not being president than actually being president. Let's see. Back when Terry Pratchett was in middle school, he wrote a crossover between The Lord of the Rings and Pride and Prejudice and passed it around to his friends. Is it a good or bad thing that the future potential great novelists are going to know their equivalents of that kind of thing are going to be preserved on fanfic sites until the end of time? I hope not. I wish that... Yeah, I feel like... I think we talked about this in a previous stream, but like... Creative people don't get much of an opportunity to be weird and awkward, which you kind of need when you're like developing into your creative self. Like, I'm happy that my first YouTube channel, which was awful, is largely gone. Most of the videos I took down, and I wasn't popular enough, so nobody actually remembers them, which is nice. That makes me happy. But that, and of course I didn't grow up in, I grew up kind of in a time before social media. I grew up in Web 1.0, not Web 2.0. So yeah, I got lucky on that front. And the thing is though, people are starting to come around to fanfic, but people are still like, it's still very awkward. And while like, you know, a necessary part of, you know, budding new artists, let people be awkward. We need to learn how to let people be awkward. Just noticed the Emma Goldman mugshots behind him. Yeah. Fanfic has always been around. Yeah, they used to show them through zines and stuff. $60 million dead Chinese from a communist government doesn't matter at all. Oh, boy. 100 bajillion million gazillion dead. Because I read it in my book, The Black Book of Communism. Where those numbers come from, don't you worry about that. You should probably check, I made a video on this called, the hell did I call that video? But it's, I feel like it's one of my better videos. It's one of my videos that I enjoyed making. And it's sort of like my last video before COVID really took hit. Like I was editing it when like lockdown started. But it's called Is Socialism a Threat? And if you are really interested in my take on like the million, gajillion, quadrillion, the human race went extinct because of communism. Communism killed so many people that we're all dead right now. But I made a video about this, saying, because if you know me, that I am a person who is critical of like countries like China and the sort of brutal oppression that comes along with these authoritarian regimes that claim to be left wing. But like, it's cool. You can beat up that Tristan-shaped straw man all you want. I'm not going to sit here and let you badmouth the greatest democracy the world has ever seen. Listen, I'm not badmouthing Switzerland. America, on the other hand. Oh, man. I love it. 60 million. Would DM have been worse than Trump? Ooh. Tough call. DM did kill a lot of people. If we weren't capitalists, your fat ass wouldn't be able to collect unemployment check and drive to KFC every day, you odious piece of shit. I love that, like, you're like odious. Like you're trying to be classy while you're just like saying a bunch of like 11-year-old troll shit. I am 31 years old. I have been on the internet a very long time. Show me your worst. Odious piece of shit might be a good one for my my collection, actually. I need some more Tristan Won't Shut Up things. I'm gonna give that the old copy paste. Open up my little document of names for Tristan Won't Shut Up videos. There we go. Odious piece of shit. I like it. It's very I'm not unemployed, though, and I do not go to KFC. I have not been to KFC in a very, very long time. But I also don't drive. Maybe if I could drive, I would go to KFC every day. I'm not, like, the biggest fan of it, but if you insist, a Beta 500X. Odious is just a fun word to say. Yeah. So funny when a world leader gets COVID. Funny that your fat ass has diabetes. Dude, this guy knows, like, it's like, dude, I do not consume that much sugar. I'm good. It's okay, man. You can chill. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. I've had people call my phone to threaten my life. You calling me an odious piece of shit's not gonna do nothing, man. A while back, 2017, I was talking to people on an ex-Muslim subreddit. A conservative Muslim showed up and started abusing people in the thread. I responded to him with a picture of Muhammad to annoy him. Was that a bad thing to do, even though he was being a prick? I mean, it's generally like... It's like trying to do something that it's intentionally offensive to someone's group of people. It'd be like if a trans person was being a jerk, so you started misgendering them. Like, yeah, it was not a great thing to do. I need to get new Twitch mods. My Twitch mods are not My Twitch mods have stopped becoming regulars, and so I have to field a new one because I'm very, very, very worried. Like, I always have to be very intentional and choosy about who I make mods. Favorite country is Finland because it's not real. Good call. Good call. Treadmill, gym, exercise. Ever heard of them? Ooh. Fucking badass over here. Like to report a murder. How is that chair supporting you? Man, this guy's good. He just keeps going. I think I banned him. But man, God, just tries so hard. Like, just imagine being a guy who has, like, what, only so many days, only so many thousand days to live in this world. You know, every second should be one that you cherish every moment of. And this guy's decided, I don't like this guy because he's too left-wing, so I'm just gonna say things I'm just gonna say, like, abusive words at him, and this is going to make me feel better. The guy's, like, icon was, like, this, like, monarch, this, like, I don't know, some sort of European king. So this is obviously, like, a pro-incest kind of guy. One of those pro-incest people that call themselves monarchists. Man, can you just imagine? Like, we are but one small spark of life in this sea of swirling particles and endless entropy between the moment of creation with the Big Bang and the heat death of the universe. And we get but one tiny moment of that grand ocean of time to exist. And this person chose to spend a moment of that trying to hurt my feelings by telling a creator with 70,000 YouTube subscribers that he's a fat person, thinking that maybe he's never heard it before. Man, that's really sad. Pick up a football, yo. And also just, like, a lot of preoccupation with my ass. Like, maybe he thirst posting. Maybe he doesn't know how to express. He's all in for, like, this golf shirt just really does it for him. Or his black polo shirt. What will the focus of your Star Trek video be? My Star Trek video I plan on making is sort of, I'm hoping to make it as the video that you can show somebody. So if somebody doesn't watch Star Trek, to make the case for why you should watch it. And I'll talk about, like, why it's good and why, like, you know, it has a reputation and that that needs to be addressed. And that why you should disregard that and watch it anyway, and why it is an amazing, science fiction franchise that goes in so many beautiful places, and kind of like where you should start and what's great about it. And also, I kind of want to go in a little bit about why, like, specifically during COVID, Star Trek has been really, like, you know, really, really therapeutic. It's kind of like a comfort food for me. Like, you know, really like a nice comfy blanket thing for me during these uncertain times. Even the new ones. All right, everybody, be on your best behavior. My mom's here. If you had a year to live in one country, no COVID to worry about, Ireland or New Zealand, which would you pick? I'd probably go to Ooh. So it makes me think I have to go to Ireland. Castles and stuff. Your series on white power militia movement is going to be like the series on Al Qaeda you did once. The series I did on Al Qaeda was a bit more serialized. Like, my Al Qaeda series was... Well, I'm very proud of it. It didn't do very well. Because I think, like, it was very explicitly like a part 1, part 2, part 3 type thing. This one is going to be less like I'm hoping that instead of being like a series, that it's more going to be like a cluster of videos and you don't have to watch them in any particular order. That's my hope. LOL, Castles in Ireland is boring and old. Dude, I'm a fucking historian. There's also some, like, really great stuff in... what's it called? There's really great stuff in New Zealand as well. I'd love to see, like, cool Maori stuff. Star Trek is boring and old. I'm boring and old! So is your mom. There we go. That's how we do this. Fourth generation Irish immigrant on my mother's side. They're prominent in their local Irish community. Family fled during the Easter Rising aftermath. So it's a mix of curiosity and personal sentiment. It's a start. Are you familiar with the 1990s conspiracy guy William Cooper and his massive impact on the far-right power movement? Particularly the militia movement, especially his book Behold a Pale Horse. I haven't read into the 90s stuff yet, but I probably will in the future. Right now I'm reading a lot of stuff about the 80s. Star Trek is gay. Okay, I'm sold. Am I an anarchist for real? Yeah. I have read the Bread book. I am a fan of it. I am a enjoyer of Peter Kropotkin. What's your favorite anarchist writers? Oh yeah, Peter Kropotkin, Murray Bookchin, with like kind of like municipalism and stuff like that. Those would probably be the two most influential. I also like Noam Chomsky a lot when he's talking about anarchism and not vote shaming people. When Noam Chomsky's on, he's good. It's just that he's just turning into a lib, and I don't like it. Is the bonus army too much military history for you? No. I would love to make a video on the bonus army. It's, This is the History Channel. Tristan, should you do an April Fool's mocking military history YouTube? Ooh. Don't tempt me, Matt. I did a April Fool's video once where I debunked Sargon of Akkad with facts and logic. Seeing as Noam Chomsky, like, I have a special place for Noam Chomsky because, like, while, like, Michael Moore made me a left-wing person, Noam Chomsky made me an anarchist. And it's fucking awesome. Need to get your politics out of these perfectly apolitical wars. Exactly. We're not here to talk about politics. We're here to talk about why the Tiger tank was fucking epic. I keep hearing leftists say we can't let Biden use not having the Senate as an excuse to not do anything. Like, suppose the president was like Bernie or AOC. What could they do with a hostile Senate and Supreme Court? There's actually a bunch of stuff that there's just this. There's actually a whole list that this committee put together of all the things that Biden could undo from the Trump administration with an executive order on day one, and things that he could do to fix. Like he could, like, while he couldn't do like economic stimulus, he could do stuff like send in the Army Corps of Engineers to fix the the broken what's it called, the poison water pipes in Flint, Michigan, and like there's actually he has like there's like 200 or something progressive things that he could do without needing the Senate. Jaffa cakes or crumpets. Oh, you're playing with gasoline now. You're going to start a war. Netflix's big series, The 100-Year Cake War. The Yorkist. Thank you for joining Catholic Gaming 183. Spiritus Sanctus. Jesus Christi video games. Oh, push start. I don't know. You took a graphic novel class. How'd you like it? I liked it quite a bit. It was an evening class that I took. I think it was like I want to say it was like on Wednesday nights or something like that. And it was a really fun class. The teacher was really great. And I read a lot of like very seminal, important works of comic book history. And I really enjoyed it. I got to reread Watchmen and do like a really deep dive. We worked on it. We talked about it for 2 weeks, I think. And I got to take, what else did we do? We did God Loves, Man Kills, which is like a really important piece of X-Men history, but also about like the culture wars of the 80s and like, the religious right and all that kind of stuff. And we did Mouse, which is a great comic book. Yeah. So much good stuff. Why don't Muslims react the same way when we create pictures of other Islamic prophets like Moses and Jesus? I don't know exactly how that works, but the specific people that aren't supposed to be depicted in graven images by Muslims are Muhammad and like the first 4 caliphs. And typically, sometimes also Muhammad's wives get lumped into this as well. So, yeah. And my guess it's because they know that those figures are holy to other religions as well. Like, you wouldn't see a drawing of Jesus when they talk, because, like, Jesus is in the Quran and is a pretty important prophet in the Quran. But, like, you wouldn't see, like, a drawing of Jesus in a mosque. Muslims are not supposed to worship idols, and images of the Prophet are considered as such. You're right, though, that there are images of Wazart Ali. I know because one of the things I did when I was when I did a video on Aisha, which was one of Muhammad's wives, because I said that she was one of the most important women in Islam. I not only said that she was one of the most important women in Islam, but I also drew Ali, the Caliph Ali, and I drew him kind of as a jerk, and because he's sort of a villain in the story of what's it called? A villain in the story of Aisha's life. And man, I realized that all those things were pissing off Shia Muslims in a big way, and I was like, oh shit. Because I know that Shia Muslims aren't super big fans of Aisha for complicated reasons. Thank you, California Grizzly, for following. Rar. Have you listened to Robert Evans's podcast, The Women's War? If so, what are your thoughts? I thought it was great. I thought it was the modern day homage to Catalonia. And I thought it was amazing. Speaking of a very important period in our history that just the news just did not give any focus on, because Rojava was this great experiment in democracy and freedom that just still exists today, but it's definitely not what it was. But yeah, I'm so happy that Robert Evans did what he did. Would Gore have started the Forever War if he was president when 9/11 happened? I think he would have started the Afghanistan War for sure. I don't think he would have started the Iraq War. I think the Iraq War was very much on the neocon wish list. Hey, Fantastic 8, thank you for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. So much cursed footage of the 1996 Democratic National Convention. What is the best speech in history? Ooh, I don't know. Cross of Gold speech is pretty good. Switzerland, I think you mean DPRK. Okay, yeah, that's true. He wasn't bad-mouthing Rojava or the Zapatistas. Hey! Matt Lipton, thank you for the $10 super chat. Much appreciated. Fun comics history fact. Martin Goodman, the founder of Marvel Comics, was the son of a Russian serf. His dad was shocked when his son owned an estate as big as the one that he used to work on. That's fucking awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Would Saddam still be in power today if Gore had won? Yes, I think so. You go to KFC when you forget why you don't go to KFC. People are sending you death threats? Oh, yeah. I have exposed and attacked Nazis, and I have made videos about topics on religion. And what I got death threats for, most of all, was talking about the 9/11 truth movement. Man, 9/11 truthers are vicious. The ones who are still holding out, I guess. That kitty looks quite adult, like 7 years or so. This one, Romeo is, I think he's about 6. So you're pretty spot on. Is this a MAGA streamer? Oh boy. You are the farthest thing from. When is the Stellaris stream coming? I don't know. I gotta like boot up Stellaris. I haven't played in a long time. So rightfully pro-choice is usually expanded to teen mothers. What about people who are even younger than that? Should like a pregnant 9-year-old get to veto their parents' choice on whether to terminate or not? Yes. Fuck yes. Bodily autonomy all the way. You are a waste of oxygen. Well. And you spelt waste like your waist. Like your waistband. Very, very interesting. You are a waste of oxygen. Man. We all know that's true, but you don't have to say it. Are you a lefty? Oh, yes. All right. Picard was a good show. People don't like it, but I saw the good in it. Maybe it's because I've been following Star Trek stuff for like ever, but I usually find a way to like most Star Trek content. Even the bad stuff is at least funny. And I am one of the few people who seems to be actually like genuinely enjoying the CBS Star Trek stuff. I think that they've done like legitimate good shows. It's certainly different than the Star Trek of the past. Doesn't follow the formula, but we're out of the Rick Berman area of Star Trek now. It's a new sort of period in the Star Trek canon. And so, you know, it's a new thing to get used to, and I think they're doing some cool stuff with the material, so I'm okay with that. Star Trek is like getting trapped in an elevator with Ben Shapiro and Elon Musk. What? Why? Well, either Uzbekistan or Mongolia. I don't know what that was a reference to. It's about the homoeroticism. There's definitely a fair bit of that. Why did the suits let Star Trek be a thing during the Cold War? Why didn't someone tell Roddenberry, utopian future with no money, we can't have that? Well, that's because, what's it called? They don't make any references to there being no money in the 1960 Star Trek show. I think the first reference to there being no money was the Voyage Home. And by then, you know, ball had already been rolling. In fact, in the 60s show, they make references to pay, so, you know. History and Star Trek do have unfair reputations for being boring. I agree. As a Kiwi, you have the right of it. Let's see. Could you ask your mother if she's a neoliberal or not? I don't even think she could tell me what a neoliberal was. So I doubt it. Bread Book, the one by Gordon Ramsay. Oh boy. Do you have any Luddite tendencies? I do have a little bit. I do sometimes have Luddite tendencies. Not all the time. I actually am like pro-technology most of the time. But I do think that we do need to address that not all technologies necessarily make our lives better, and that we should be more choosy about which ones we decide to add into our lives. But I'm definitely not like I'm not like an anarcho-primitivist or something like that. I like that, like, there's one thing about the Amish that I think is a cool idea, which is that they don't reject technology out of hand, but one thing about them is that they are deliberate, and every piece of technology, they wonder whether or not this will bring them closer to God or not. And I feel like that kind of intentionality is sort of thing. Aren't Michael Moore's movies kind of misleading? They're kind of, they're not misleading. They're a bit sentimental. That's for sure. Did you see Knowing Better's recent video on Smedley Butler? Cody does some narration, and KB talks a whole lot about U.S. interventions, violence to prop up capitalism, and talked about the bonus army. I haven't watched a Knowing Better video in a very long time. You'd ace a graphic novels class. The thing, though, is that a lot of the work that was in the graphics novels class, the graphic novel class, like involved inventing a superhero and like drawing them and making a comic and stuff like that. And if you didn't want to do that, you could write an essay about one of the comics. But yeah. Who's the earliest socialist philosopher in human history? Oh, God. I don't even know. I honestly can't tell you. Mouse has been the only work of art to get me close to crying. Yeah, me too. Fucking amazing. Amazing. If you ever get a chance to read Mouse, part 1 and part 2, it's fucking heartbreaking and amazing. Because what Mouse is, if anyone doesn't know, Mouse is a comic book. It's 2 comic books. And it's basically... it's made by Art Spiegelman. And the graphic novel is about... At the same time, it's supposed to be a retelling of his father's experiences in the Holocaust, because his father is a Holocaust survivor. And in it, but on the same time, it has sort of a B plot about the kind of troubled relationship he has with his father that he's having while he has to spend all this time with his father to get these interviews to make this comic book. And it sort of interweaves those 2 stories in a really good way that talks about like the sort of intergenerational trauma that happened because of his experiences, and dealing with like the fact that like his mother committed suicide, and like the 2 of them had a kid before World War II who died, and they're always comparing him. Like it was like it's a whole thing, and all of the Jews are drawn as mice, and all of the Germans are drawn as cats, and et cetera, et cetera. It's like all these kinds of different things. And yeah, it's good. It's real good. And then part 2 is about the sort of fallout of the popularity of Mouse. And it's got a lot to do with like Art Spiegelman's relationship with his wife, and his father in like the last months of his life, and it's also really good. So if you ever get a chance to read Mouse, I really recommend it. It's MAUS. Also, Art Spiegelman has a visual condition where he doesn't see depth perception, and it leads to the art being like a very unique style. It's very good. Yeah. The Quranic prohibition used to justify not depicting Muhammad is actually against depicting any living thing. That's why Islamic Golden Age art is often so abstract. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the only like drawings of people that you ever see in Muslim art is like this really small period of these like Iranian drawings where they've painted a lot of holy figures, but they don't have faces, because like these this certain group came to a conclusion that you can paint people, but you just can't paint their faces. And so there's, some unique paintings of prominent Muslim figures. They just don't have faces. Muslim societies have taken it more or less literally and more or less seriously throughout history. That is true. Shout out Robert Evans. Yeah, Robert Evans fucking rules. How would you justify bodily autonomy to like an alien or a person from the far past who lacks the concept? If they have any concept of ownership, like owning objects, owning land, that the number one rule that anybody should have is that a person owns themselves and nobody else. That's like, anytime people talk about, like if I ever have to have a chat with a like anti-abortion person, that's usually the way that I go, is I talk about it in terms of like self-determination and self-ownership. And then there's a whole argument, what's it called? That Ben Shapiro video that Philosophy Tube made kind of also outlines this about like pretty good, the argument that I would always say, like if you went to a hospital and found out that there was somebody who was dying and they needed a kidney transplant, and your kidney was the only one in the whole world that could save them, but it would be dangerous, the surgery would be dangerous, and it would, it could hurt, you could die, and you are putting that yourself at great risk. Do you think that the state should have the right to force you to give up your kidney? And if the answer is no, then there's no argument really against abortion, or there's no real argument. There's You don't really have a strong argument against abortion then. Because eventually it all boils down to you believe in magical entities that live inside people that can't be quantified or proven one way or the other. And so your argument has no merits at that point. It's hard to debate anything when you get to the point when people start believing in magic. Man, a few words. Any questions? It's a good one. Saddam would be dead by... I didn't even think about the Arab Spring. Yeah. Iraq would have been a prime target for the Arab Spring. Oh boy, do we have another person? We have another fun person in the chat now? AK, new life is equal to organs. No, but like, the argument goes that you, human being, have to sacrifice your bodily integrity or your life or your health, and if you don't make that sacrifice, then another person will die. And if you think that you are required by law to then make that sacrifice, then that's a different question. But if you think that I should not donate my kidney, knowing that if I don't donate that kidney, that person will die. If I have the right to still say no, then you should be pro-abortion. What is the most pro-gamer move in history? Oh boy. I don't know how to answer that. You are stinky poo-poo. Oh boy. This KFC is ironic given I made fried chicken for dinner tonight. Wow. Good for you. Let's see. Victoria 3 when confirmed. I have no idea what they're doing with the Victoria franchise. I have no idea what the next game that Paradox will put out will be. Because they seem to be really against doing a Victoria 3, and I don't know why. One of the places I'm applying for to grad school is Western. Oh, do you have any opinions on London, Ontario in general? I mean, I live in London, Ontario. It's a pretty nice town. I mean, depending upon, like, it's a town, it's got problems, like all cities do. But, like, if it's got that nice, like, Goldilocks of, like, not too big, not too small type thing. And if you're a Western student, you get free bus pass, so you can go around the city pretty easily. It has a pretty happening scene in the summertime. There's a lot of shows. There's a lot of music. There's a lot of music. There's a lot of like food festivals and stuff like that. Western where you go depends a lot on your department. If you're going to apply to Schulich, the medical school, then like, yeah, you'll do great. Lots of great doctors come out of Schulich. If you're going to Ivy, the business school, I've heard it's really good. I don't know. Really depends upon what you want to go for. Yeah. Have any actual socialists ever wrote Star Trek? Gene Roddenberry, maybe? I don't know. I'm sure some have. Tristan, do you have a favorite Jedi? What's a Star Wars Jedi? Let's go with Rey. Rey Skywalker. That should make everybody happy. I thought it was DS9, the first of my characters saying people of Earth had no need for money. No, it was a movie called The Voyage Home, which came out in 1986. Did you watch Jeff Gibbs and Michael Moore's Planet of the Humans? No, I have not. I think Moore's sentimentality makes his work more compelling. It's true. Yeah. Like, he's a very good documentarian. I'm not going to tell him how to make movies. He, like, what's it called? He's made some of the most impressive, or he's like won like so many Oscars for his documentaries, and he's like, made some of the highest grossing documentary films ever made. So I would say he's pretty good. What does your MA in cultural studies entail? If you wrote a thesis, what was it? Asking as a non-American. We had coursework. So for 2 semesters, we had 2 courses each semester. They were seminar-style courses, lots of reading, very heavy reading. And then also we were working on what's called a MRP, or a master's research project, which is sort of like a non-thesis thesis. It's a thesis that doesn't require a defense, which, if I remember, had to be about 50 pages. And I did mine on study on post 9/11 Islamophobia, which was sort of me outlining why Islamophobia took on such racial overtones and how it was racialized, and that I argued it was getting worse, not better, which you would think would not be the case because 9/11 sort of is in the past. It was not my greatest work. I was a young person, so I didn't really know that much about what I was doing, but yeah. Do the Amish let each individual decide that, or just the patriarch of the whole community? I don't know for sure, honestly. Have you seen the War Against Humanity series at the World War II channel by Spartacus Olson or Indy Nidell? No, I have not. Ever watched the anime movie Grave of the Fireflies about World War II Japanese war orphans who slowly starved to death? Shit's rough too. No, I have not seen that movie. At some point, I'd like to try out some of the anti-abortion arguments I've thought up as a hypothesis, but I've never actually said them because I'm worried about giving the other side ammunition. How do you feel about cartoonists like drawing Muhammad in solidarity after the Charlie Hebdo attack? I still think it would be like if, for example, like if a trans person killed somebody for somebody being a prick and misgendering them, it would you should not murder somebody for something like that. And I think everyone would agree with that. But then to be like, in solidarity for this person's free speech, I'm going to misgender this person too. And they're like, I'm going to misgender this person too. And I'm going to misgender this person. And it's like, just by doing something rude and offensive to a much larger community than just this like one person who did this thing is in the name of free speech is a bit fucked up. But it seems like nobody seems to give a shit about whether something is rude to Muslims. Apparently it's just cool to just be horrible to Muslims. I don't understand why, but it seems like we're just not able to get to the point where we can see Muslims as human beings. Just because the religion's different. Like, we can't just, like, not intentionally antagonize by just doing, like, the worst things. Do you think there's a good anarchist observation we made about how Arctic nations are scrambling to secure Arctic territory? An anarchist observation? I mean, states, it's very much like, it's the logic of seeing the world like a state, that as the Arctic is becoming, open to resource exploitation, that then states are thinking about, like, seeing land as resource and not realizing, like, the repercussions of the actions, like the Arctic's opening up because of climate change, and, like, I don't know, it just shows, like, the sort of, like, inherent instability created by, like, how states see the world. Norman Finkelstein has a nice article where he compares the Charlie Hebdo Muhammad characters to Der Stürmer Jewish satire. Oof. Should read that. We are required to donate our organs after death unless we explicitly sign a declaration we wish to not to. That's in the Netherlands. Okay. This isn't about donating your organs after it dies. This is like donating a kidney while you're still alive. It's different. It's the only person who knows what the fuck is going on with the Victoria engine. Doesn't work for Paradox anymore. I've heard. Wait, is the Battle of Thames nearby London, Ontario? Like the War of 1812 battle? Yes. Pretty sure it's nearby here. The Thames River runs through the city, so... do you think there's a difference between a fetus and an unconscious adult human? Before I came across the version of the vilest argument, thinking those two entities are comparable is why I was pro-life. To me, the distinction doesn't, like... I don't, like, the thing is, I don't see the point in, like, agonizing over this definition, because it seems like whatever line you're drawing in the sand saying this is when this becomes a human and this is when this isn't, seems to me to be a pointless category that only exists for us to have a fight over whether or not women deserve to have bodily autonomy, or pregnant people deserve to have bodily autonomy. And I don't think that's a useful argument. And I think it shows more the compartmentalized thinking that humans have, and isn't really the way that, you know, the world actually works phenomenologically. And so to me, the answer is, I don't fucking care. I know quite a bit about Planet of the Humans, better than most people think. Alright. TNG also mentioned they don't use money a bunch of times. Yeah. What do you think of Michael Moore's Where Should We Invade Next? It's okay. It's a little like, it glosses over a lot of the problems the world has, but I get what it's trying to do, and I think it's fine. It was really cool. I remember in that movie, I learned a lot about how the French school system is fucking awesome. Like how kids go on these like amazing vacations every like month or so. Like they get like 1 week off every, like, I think they get like a week off every month, and they don't do summers. They don't take the summers off, and like they get like nice food and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh damn. Imagine if the government just gave a shit about us peasants on this side of the Atlantic. If you were writing your own leftist film, what would it be like? Ooh. Like a documentary or like a movie? Because like I've had a million one ideas about movies. One thing that I've been like trying to rack my brain about is maybe trying to tell a sci-fi story about climate change, but not about climate change in the way that like a lot of people, like I'm not going to do like the sort of like the sort of climate change narrative in Game of Thrones or something like that, but something a little bit more about how it's not that people don't believe climate change is real or don't take it seriously. It's that people don't care, and there's like ideologies designed around things that this like makes impossible, and like that kind of human aspect to it. We need to investigate a lot more about ideology and such. Have you ever heard Trekonomics? I have. I think there's like a book or something. Like it's a book, right? I haven't read it, but I've heard of it. Seem to know a lot about religions. What is Quakerism exactly? The only thing I'm not confused about is how they are pacifist and egalitarian. The Wikipedia page is confusing though. If I remember correctly, there's sort of like a German Protestant faith that was sort of like a break off from Calvinism at some point. As far as I know, very religious. It's very the thing about them that made them like it made it difficult is I think they were like very anti-sex, but they were like many Protestant groups in the chaos of the 30 Years' War, not exactly feeling like they were welcome in Europe. And so a lot of them ended up moving to America, and a lot of them ended up settling in Pennsylvania. And I think they've largely disappeared by now, because I think they basically can't have children. But I feel like I might be mixing them up with the Shakers. that's not the Quakers. So no, the Shakers. I definitely know the Shakers. They could not have children. So to answer your question, I think I'm about as well off as you are in this situation. The Quakers were pacifists and they're still around. Okay. Nixon was a Quaker. Oh boy. Americans suck when it comes to non-Christian religions, especially Islam, so since it's so vilified. You know what? Quakers are from Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania has gritty. So I'm thinking that Quakerism has something to do with gritty. That's my answer. With regards to the question I asked earlier, what's the minimum age for bodily autonomy? Like, I imagine you wouldn't be cool with a 3-year-old making their own medical choices. I mean, it's a sliding scale, right? Like, again, this is the thing. Our brains always want to have categories. Like, when you hit this many hours old, you are now able to think responsibly about your own, like, no. It's a sliding scale. And, like, if you can get a kid to, like, there's points when, like, you realize, you know that, like, a kid's not going to be able to understand what you're talking about when it comes to bodily autonomy stuff. But also, you should default to their desires when possible. Not all the time, obviously, because kids are, very young kids wouldn't understand. Like, a 3-year-old wouldn't understand chemotherapy, for example. Hey, thank you, Your Environment Seattle. Thank you for following. Welcome to our gang. But, like, that does, like, I don't know, like, having, like, these steadfast categories that have rules that need to be used in every single context is, like, not, I don't know, I find that kind of thinking is kind of statist, and it sort of is not the way that I prefer the way that we look at the world, because trying to draw categories and make one-size-fits-all legislation just doesn't seem to be the way to answer these questions. I like how people get mad whenever a restaurant serves halal food. Meanwhile, one of the McDonald's oldest menu items is a fish sandwich originally made to appeal to Catholics. Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. I'm specifically applying to Western's History MA program. Any specific thoughts about the program/faculty? I don't want to get too specific about focus and so here's what I know about Western's MA program. The MA program is pretty good. You're gonna get there's two streams. There's a 2-year program and a 1-year program. I took the 1-year program because the 2-year program is actually pretty new. The 2-year program, you actually write a thesis and stuff. It's a whole new thing. The course load, it's grad school, so it's a heavy course load. You take 3 classes, I think, per semester, and then you write a basically like the same kind of thing that I mentioned, like an MRP, like a 50-page essay at the end of the thing that's supervised by somebody. There is, not to say that you need to do this, but in the Western University's history program, military history and Canadian history are definitely its specialties. That's just like the main. That's its main feature. But there are amazing faculty who are there. And what I would recommend if you're applying to grad school is you should have a good idea of who that supervisor you want to reach out to is, and they have work like that is kind of like conducive to the kind of work you want to do. And I mean, I was a U.S. historian in that history department for years, and people were okay with my weird takes and my strange being in that situation. And there are some amazing professors. There's a great digital history department, or digital history sort of like cabal of people who are into digital history projects, which if you want to be like a if you want to take your career in history seriously, you probably have to get into digital history. And like Bill Turkel there is like a fucking genius. So like you won't get very many better professors when it comes to like digital history stuff. And yeah. Other than that, really depends upon what you want to get into. Will you be trying to end your white power series around today's BS and include things like QAnon and all the recent years of white supremacist violence and terror attacks? I do plan on going in that direction, yes. I'm trying to do an interview. I'm working on it. We're working together to get an interview together with Daniel Harper, who is sort of an expert on the modern far right, and he's the host of a podcast called I Don't Speak German, and I'm trying to do an interview with him. Getting to more modern stuff, it gets a little bit more complicated because there's not a lot of books written about, like, there's no books about QAnon really. There might be actually at this point. I don't know. People can write books really fast, but it is like on my. Do you like Werner Herzog films? I love Werner Herzog films. Grizzly Man, I think, like, I've seen like a dozen times at this point. My wife really loves Werner Herzog. If you fold two pizzas and it does become a sandwich. Ooh. I have one of my friends makes this like a centerpiece of his, like, is this or is it not a sandwich? It's like a centerpiece of his sort of teaching work, because he does like the nature of information and categorization and stuff like that. And he's had so many answers. I think technically that would be. Is pro or anti-nuclear energy overdone as climate ideology? I feel like the fact is, like, my personal take is that the conversation is kind of moving past nuclear power. Like, nuclear power was much more part of the conversation like 10 years ago, but it's kind of becoming redundant just because the price point of solar and wind power is starting to drop so low that the amount of cases in which, and geothermal is also having its price point drop really low, to the point where the need for nuclear power plants, new nuclear power plants, is starting to become unclear. If there is a need to build like a nuclear reactor that takes 10 years to complete and creates fuel that's dangerous for 150,000 years. Not to say like I'm not like anti-nuclear power. Like, I think nuclear power, it is very, very useful. It's just that we're kind of passing its era and moving into a new one. Is this a liberal channel? Economic Forces. This is definitely an anarcho-communist channel. Isn't folded pizza just a calzone? Yeah. Can you expand on why you think doing a left-wing sequel to the Turner Diaries would be a bad idea? I don't know if it would be a bad idea. There's something that feels a little icky about, like, trying to engage with it on its own, like making an unauthorized sequel. Maybe. You'll kind of pick up, like, I'm doing my next video soon. Be coming out in about a little over a week. And it's going to be on... It's gonna have a significant section on the Turner Diaries, because what the Turner Diaries really is, while people think it's just a work of fiction, it's not just a work of fiction. So there's this idea in the way that the white power movement organizes itself, which is that it's a distributed, like, non-centralized leadership position, so that it has different cells that don't communicate with each other, and the way that they coordinate things is that they have this statement saying like, well, our tactics and our values are similar, that when similar objective things happen in the world, people will react in the same way. And in many ways, like one of the things that Thoughtslime points out in his video on the Turner Diaries is that it has a lot of very like things that he pointed out, like this is shitty for a novel. But what they are detailed descriptions on how to run a paramilitary group and like what things to do. What is the path? What is the way? And very often many white power group terrorist attacks have been like literally inspired by things that happen in the Turner Diaries. And so it kind of becomes this because like, you know, you can ban a how-to manual for white supremacist terrorism. You can't really ban a novel that happens to be really racist. And so in my mind, in many ways, like it's giving legitimacy to the idea that it's just a novel, or that it's a novel in the same sense, but when it's like there's a bit more going on than that. And sort of, I don't think that it's necessarily a bad idea to do what you said, but like wading into that discourse, you're going to have to be very, very careful about what you do with it. Do you think Hitler would have been voted out if there had ever been another election after the one that brought him to power in 1933? I think I already answered this question a while back. Like by 1937, the economy was doing really well and he was really popular, so I doubt it. Canada, the US, yeah. Islamophobia is a very common problem. Yeah, India, yeah. India's current government basically wants to purge the nation of Muslims. Yeah, there's the first, second, and third most populous countries on Earth either are committing a genocide of Muslims or are sliding disturbingly close to it, and that's scary. Having met a 2-year-old, you can ask them the same question twice in a 1-second pause between them and get completely opposite answers. Oh boy. Would you support accelerationism if you had a good reason to think it worked? Like suppose a psychohistorian came to you from before the election and said the math shows that Trump wins, things will be really shitty for a long time, but the left-wing backlash would result in a chain of events that will lead to humanity achieving full automated luxury gay communism by 2105, whereas if Biden wins, it won't happen until 2209. Well, I don't know what I would do in that situation. That's a real noodle scratcher, that one. Because, like, in many ways, accelerationism is a bad idea. Accelerationism is usually promoted by people who aren't going to be hurt by things getting bad at a rapid pace. And I feel like in this situation, I would not want to be the kind of person who is going to say, hey, all of these not me people, they're the ones who are going to suffer. They're, you know, some bad stuff's going to happen to them. But, like, everybody else is fine. Like, I don't know if I feel like I'm the right person to make that kind of decision. Never thought of the World War term of stabbed in the back could be applied to the Vietnam War. Yeah. It's I only made that connection because I was reading the book that I was studying for it, and at the same time, I was listening to Three Arrows' new podcast, The Iron Dice, and I was like, this is really similar. I just started listening to it. I don't speak German. Well, there you go. Cereal is cold soup. Changed my mind. Hot dogs are not sandwiches, though. Folded pizza. Oh, my God. Anarchists, except when it comes to energy economics. You know, like, this is the thing. Like, I got a comment about this. Like, aren't you an anarchist? Why are you talking about partisan politics? Shouldn't you just be anarchisting around? And it's like, dude, okay, if the option comes across that's like, burn it all down and start over, sure, yeah, I'll take it. But also, we live in a society, and to just be like, I'm going to hold out for the absolute perfect society to, you know, understand and make a big difference, like, that is sort of like the people who are like waiting for the revolution or waiting for the rapture, and it's like, yeah, fuck that. Like, that's an excuse to not do anything and to not take interest in things. And the economics of energy, like, is like this real thing about climate change, because, like, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to just abolish capitalism before we have to deal with climate change. It's like we've run out of time for things like that. And so, yeah, the shrinking price point of solar and wind energy is an important part of figuring out how do we, like, you know, transition off fossil fuels. Because, like, in the past, we thought it wasn't going to be enough, and so that we would need to build nuclear power plants. And nuclear power plants cost a fuckload of money, and they take forever to build. And so if our solution was going to rely on building a ton of these, like, behemoths, then, you know, like, it makes transitioning off of fossil fuels much harder. Do you think thorium and deuterium-based nuclear power would be safer and cheaper than uranium and plutonium-based models? I mean, that's just objectively true, because that fuel is much less potent in its radioactivity. It's sort of like low voltage, high capacity. So it's like it can burn for a long time, but it's not that powerful, or it's not that radioactive. Not like uranium, where uranium is just like dying to shoot neutrons everywhere. You have to do a bunch of stuff to thorium. You have to, like, mix it with fluoride, and you have to, like, heat it to like 300 degrees or something like that. Like, it's a whole process to make it fissile material. But it would definitely be safer and cheaper. You can make like literally meltdown proof nuclear power with thorium if we could figure it out. And then you could do stuff like you could make a thorium reactor and then just fucking bury it and then power a whole street. And then you just have to come in to replace the fuel like maybe every like 20 years or something. So yeah, like if you can make thorium work, that'd be pretty sweet, because I would love to, you know, power the world with seawater, but for some reason nobody seems to want to invest in thorium or lifter reactors, I think they're called. LIFTR, it stands for liquid fluoride thorium. Liquid fluoride thorium reactor. You should consider talking to Nick, the author of this info. IKES. Take care to read info before talking. I don't know what your thorium myths. Let's see, thorium myths. Dear Internet. Okay. I'll take a look at this. It feels like what is this website? I don't know what this website is, but okay. Sending me like a website about why thorium is bad or something. Okay. Hey, if we can get it to work, just like if we can get fusion power to work, it'll change everything. But yeah, it's one of those things that's like always on the cusp, right? It's always the thing that if we can figure it out, it'd be amazing. But also, I'm not an atomic physicist, so maybe I should do some more. How do you have a Step Back live channel when you repost all the live streams you do? If you go to my Twitch, you can get recordings of all the streams. Twitch.tv/stepbackhistory. Could we end up in a situation where renewables are actually cheaper than continuing fossil fuels, but we stick with fossil fuels anyway because capital is already invested in that? Oh, hell yeah. That's probably what's going to happen. That's where we are now. It's like it costs more money to keep a coal plant open, like coal is like now being mined purely for ideological reasons because because they are for just maintaining this industry that is like a living corpse. And yeah, so is that could we end up in that situation? Yes, because that is where we are right now. Talking about this on Discord, but it's ironic that Assassin's Creed is about freedom versus tyranny, but Unity often depicts French revolutionaries as bloodthirsty monsters. Oh wow, I don't know. I don't know what to say about Ubisoft except why do they keep covering up for sexual harassment? Why don't the Turner Diaries ever describe what the white nationalist future is like? Good question. I don't know. So that you can fill it in with your imagination. So it can be whatever you think it is. That's why they don't talk too much about what Bella is like in, what's it called, in Twilight. It's so that you can fill the lack of details with you. What figures you might cite for renewable cost directly compared to a cost of capital? Oh boy, I'm getting like hardcore energy man here now. The renewables thing, I recall, is this just like somebody who really, really likes fission nuclear power plants? Is this what I'm hearing? There was a video on Hot Mess, which is a PBS YouTube channel about freaking climate change that does they do a video on geothermal that like very articulately points out where geothermal's going. As for solar and wind, I don't know too much about wind. Solar, my point guy is just a friend of mine who has a very strong interest in this stuff. And so he just it's his like thing that he is interested in, and so every once in a while he'll catch me up on what's going on in Solar Town. But yeah, you love the Vietnam militia video. Thank you, Comic-Con. I'm liking that. It's making people happy, or it's making people terrified, but at least they're enjoying it. Will you ever have Thought Slime on the Monday Discord stream? Maybe. I don't know if he's like... I don't know if he'd be down to just like hang out at noon, but I could figure that out. Alright. Why would people who are alive now matter more than the people who will have to live under capitalism in the 22nd century? It's like... It's just like, man... Like, it's the fucking trolley problem, yo. Do you let the thing go and save one person, or do you pull the thing and save 5 people, but like one person dies? And it's like, really, I'm none of the people on those tracks, and so like that's why it makes pulling the lever a hard thing, right? All right. Do you think the Cold War was inevitable? If you get rid of the ideologies, like make the U.S. a communist state or something, they would still fight for influence. I think that the Cold War was inevitable, and it didn't have anything to do with ideology. The Cold War was inevitable because you had a world war end, a whole colonial world system collapse. Like, think about it. The World War II ends. And basically, like, at the end of World War II, the entire, like, way the world functioned for centuries, like colonization, Europe at the center, like, all that stuff, it just fucking ended, yo. Like, that's the way everybody understood, like, the way that things worked in the world. And after the war, you had these independence movements, and, like, these countries were just completely economically destroyed. And the only countries that survived in good shape was the Soviet Union and the United States. And those two had an entire continent and world that was just like coming out of this old economic system. And so like no matter what, and like the one just happened to be communist and one just happened to be capitalist. And so they both tried to make the moral argument about why they should be the ones who get their half of the world, as opposed to the other one. And they would use whatever was the prominent like ideology of the country at the time. Just because one was capitalist and one was state capitalist, like, yeah. It's all just trying to tell a story. They're all just trying to make the moral argument about why they should be the ones who run the world. Communism's still good. All right, it is 9 o'clock, though. It's time for us to mosey on down to other places and do other things. So thank you for giving me that really awesome last question to get up on. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to, in Twitch, we're going to raid Patrick Dixon. Good podcaster, Twitch or Twitter personality guy. And in the meantime, everybody else, I'll be back on Friday. Take care of yourselves and each other. Be kind.